Hello and good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. First of all, I would like to thank you all for joining us for this webinar. As we have mentioned in the invitation, this week we are having two webinars dedicated for the AVEVA Workflow Management. And when we say AVEVA Workflow Management, some of you might use or know it as Wonderware Scalpa. So today we'll have the first session. It will be more a sales webinar addressed to sales or managers to show the solution value proposition, where it fits, and how to license it. While the second webinar will take place tomorrow at the same time, 12 Dubai timing. That one will be a technical session with more demos and practical cases. So today we have Abdullah, our managing director, the managing director of AITS. He will be guiding us for the coming 30 minutes. So please be reminded to type any question you have in the question box, and we'll be answering it but at the end of the session. Now I'll just leave you in safe hands with Abdullah. Hi, Abdullah.
Hi, Nader. Can you hear me well?
Yes, we do.
Okay, good. So good morning or good afternoon, everyone. Good to be talking to you one direction. I saw the attendees list. I know many of you. I'm very glad to have this opportunity to speak to you. And our topic today, as mentioned by Nader, is about AVEVA Workflow, or legacy name Scalta. This presentation or this webinar falls well into our Edge to Enterprise portfolio by AVEVA, and our campaign to promote this entire portfolio to our system integrators and partners, and definitely our end users, as a way to create value across the entire chain. So many of you or many of us use workflow on daily basis. Workflow is part of our daily life. We have steps to do on daily basis, whether in personal life, in our work, etc. Many of us think that while AVEVA Workflow, or AVEVA as an industrial software company, so AVEVA, the workflow itself might only be, and I say only on purpose, might only be an industrial solution. Today, the major objective of this webinar is to show you how to show you examples of cases where the workflow itself can be an independent workflow or business process management, automated business process management solution for any IT solution used by various departments across different levels. As well as definitely, we're gonna see how AVEVA process, AVEVA Workflow, AVEVA or Scalta is also integrated with other AVEVA solutions like the MES, the asset performance management, to continue this value. So we would know more about AVEVA Workflow today, and what's the value proposition of the workflow, or where we can sell it and we can create value to both to all our companies. If we start on the industrial operations side, we won't discover a lot if we say that industrial operations are full of a human error, and the human error itself is unavoidable. Okay, it's manageable but unavoidable. Basically, in any industrial manufacturing facility or a water treatment plant, or any plant we are operating, we deal with systems, yes, software, SCADA, maintenance software, anything, but these software at the end of the day are used by human beings. So for instance, in manufacturing or production, there are many systems that are automated already, but there are still manual manual setups or manual steps that has to be taken. So all of these steps are subject to human error, definitely. In terms of, let's say, as examples, machine setup, a process changeover. We wanna produce product B on the same production line, so we have to change over on the process. On the upstream side, on the downstream side, whether, let's say, in a dairy, in mixing, or in filling, there's an entire process to produce a certain product. So there are plenty of manual operations, and hence subject to error and human mistakes, which lead to variance in quality and definitely degradation in performance. So we are subject to waste of time, definitely energy, labor, the raw material itself, or the finished goods, and the cost of rework. And this is one side. The second side is when we are in front of an unplanned event. Unplanned events in our terminology are the alarms, let's say, and the events. Any equipment failure, any raw material outage, any unplanned event, okay, is subject to a certain process. So it triggers a certain workflow. We have two ways to do it. Either we do it manually through paperwork, through phone calling each others and sending SMS. I sent you this on WhatsApp. I sent you this by email. You did that. You did not do this, etc. And we know how it is really in real life, how things sometimes go or lost, as we say in translation. So the objective of having really a set of documented actions where the workflow is the one guiding us, the automated workflow, the digital workflow is the one guiding us through those steps to make sure that we follow those steps, and we make sure that people are doing the what they are meant to do as part of this workflow. You might say different today, ISO process or ISO certification in different companies. I always say ISO certification in many companies is a very nice paper to be hanged on the wall, but in today's fast world, ISO documents are stored on the cloud, maybe, but basically, let's face it, we rarely really follow them really strictly. Okay, so there are hundreds of SOPs, standard operating procedures, written by specialized companies in collaboration and full collaboration with the end user himself, but we still see a lot of downtime, a lot of losses, a lot of human errors that's affecting our end result. All right, so workflow as an idea is nothing but taking those standard operating procedures that we have them documented in PDF on the cloud to the system itself, to software, to make sure that we follow those SOPs in an automated way through our computers, through our mobile phones, through our tablets, etc., etc. So we live a workflow. Okay, so we want to reach from point A to point B. We can just do it. We choose how to do it, the platform, and where we want to achieve. So we're starting from point A, we're going to point B. We have an objective. That's it. This is one way of doing things. Or we can do it even better. Yes, we define the objective. We can redefine the duration taken, what are the routes that I'm gonna follow, and the different routes that would differ based on the changing conditions, okay? And accordingly, define the best route to go, time to start, time to reach, definitely the platform I want to use, and most importantly, information I collect during this trip from point A to point B. Okay, again, I might collect it on papers, I might collecting on my personal notes, but if I have if I work within a team or an organization of 50 or 100 people, all wants to go from point A to point B, they have all the goodwill and they share the same objective, okay, without proper systems and procedure that we make sure and ensure that we are following, okay, using the technology, we might not be able to really reach point B with an optimal manner. In terms of a little bit, if we want to map this idea to our world, the industrial automation, so to speak, okay, or in the building and building management environment, anything that includes PLCs, equipments, etc., etc. Yes, the workflow might be followed without interruption, but however, when I really need the workflow is when there's something that triggers a certain process. Okay, an alarm, an alert, an incident, power outage, anything that might interrupt the daily or the shift, let's say, workflow that I follow on daily basis during my work. That's where I exactly need this workflow to guide me through. Okay, so I would the incident is created, then certain tasks are assigned to different disciplines, then definitely wait for actions from subsystems. And here, let me be clear on this point. Those subsystems, again, can be PLC, SCADA, MES, maintenance system, ERP, etc. Certain actions should be taken. And we'll give an example in the next slide. And one more point is very important here to understand that those subsystems might have their own workflow software. So, in a company, for instance, they might have an ERP with a procurement workflow, okay? But this procurement workflow is totally disconnected from what's happening maybe on the ground, what's happening with the automation system or with the MES system. So let's say one of the very important point we discuss with customers is that first question we say, okay, why do I need this workflow? Whereas I have my own SAP workflow. It's doing my job. Okay, yes, it's doing a job to manage the procurement workflow, but it's not doing the entire job. So it's not an edge to enterprise kind of approach. Okay, and this is exactly where we fit. On top of definitely the workflow of subsystems, we can do it, and I'll show it to you later. But if you wanna draw one major value proposition of AVEVA Skelta, or AVEVA Workflow, it can be an umbrella workflow that would integrate all the systems and the subsystems that we have in a particular facility. Let's take an example, something we know, okay, from our world. We are producing something and suddenly a breakdown on one of the machines. So this is a trigger. This is an alarm event, a triggers something. So it goes, let's say this is a very well documented workflow on the PDF. We have one option. Either we go print the PDF and follow the steps, or why not have the workflow himself or itself, guide us. So let's say level 3, it's a supervisor who initiate a maintenance request. Then it goes to a maintenance operator. So this is a communication action. So he has to notify him. Okay. Then the maintenance operator goes and check. Maintenance feedback shared with the supervisor. Then here the supervisor or production supervisor has a decision to make. Either he would say, okay, ignore, we can produce without any further action, continue production, no problem, easy. or he say no, I will not want to hold the production, and hence create a maintenance work request or maintenance work order. All right. So here, if you see, we are dealing with, let's say we have the production system. Let's say it's an MES here, okay, or it might be a paperwork production. We are dealing with maybe emails or SMS or telephone. Okay, we are dealing here with an EAM application, be it Avantis, be it SAP, be it Maximo. All right, because once we want to manage the maintenance through this maintenance management system. Okay, so again, on the maintenance side, the person, a maintenance supervisor, who would say, do I need to order spare parts? It's another decision he has to make. If no spare parts, then he would just dispatch the technician, perform the maintenance. This is a manual action, so he has to go there, perform it, and give the feedback, and close the maintenance work order, notify again communication, probably email or a letter or a fax, if we're still living in the fax world. Okay, saying yes, I'm done. Then we have to perform the necessary setup to restart the production, and we continue the production. So this was if no spare parts required. If spare parts is required, okay, so here another complication, because production planning has to be informed. So this is another system that is included in the workflow, which is a scheduling app, production scheduling, again, might be on an ERP system. Okay, so, or a third-party scheduling software. So a new schedule is generated and shared with supervisor, because we will have to work with multiple level of in the organization. So imagine in this scenario, in real life, you have all the pressure from the sales team on who has promised the customer to produce or to dispatch, let's say, a certain quantity at a certain date, and with all the pressure that's involved in that, doing processing this workflow manually, all right, versus having a software on our laptops, on our computers, on our tablets or mobile phones to guide us through. And then we make sure that we are following the software. Then if there's something wrong, it will be the problem of the configurator, not our problem as user of the system. So this is, in a nutshell, let's say, one example of a collaboration across different levels in the organization, across different applications. Again, remember the breakdown. The breakdown notification comes from PLC, right? From SCADA, let's say HMI, as an alarm, and it involves all the level 1, 2, 3, 4, all the level across the value chain. So, in a nutshell, digitally transform paperwork and manual processes to eliminate errors caused by paperwork and provide the right tool for people to collaborate and follow the proper standard operating procedure instructions, orchestrate all the work tasks, and enforce operational process according to certain rules and specifications. There are certain many manufacturers today across in the region. They follow certain standards, and they get graded according to those standards, international standards, Japanese, Americans, etc. So this type of systems would allow them to claim an even higher rank on standards, and for their marketing department, this would give them a huge edge forward. So this is also another entry to a particular customer, how this type of workflow is important. Most importantly, especially in food and bev, in pharmaceutical, where this is highly regulated industries, for instance, traceability, it's important to know digitally, to have one record of every step, who has taken it, at what time, how long it took, what was used, etc., etc. So traceability of the process is also important for regulation. Oil and gas, you name it, banking. This is important important record that they keep, instead of keeping it in, again, maybe PDFs or printed papers. They can simply have it in Skelta. So Skelta would take care of that part. As we said, when we speak about digital transformation, in today's world, we want to produce from our tablet, we want to operate, we want to maintain for our desktop devices and mobile devices. We want to make sure that if I am on holiday, if I am the maintenance director on holiday, but I have to approve certain maintenance order if it's urgent, for instance, or I am a procurement manager, I have to approve certain procurement purchase order. Here we go. I have it on my mobile. Okay, fully integrated. I can see everything that's happening around me. So definitely, we are ensuring a faster response. We are empowering the mobile, the workforce, online and offline. All right, and we are definitely providing, again, all the, let's say, if you want to say it, the insurance policy against any human error or any unplanned event. So here again, just as a summary, we connect different applications and different people across different functions, and in a one unified collaboration system. But if you want to see how, where workflow and where does it fit in the entire AVEVA solution? First of all, let me tell you that Skelta, AVEVA Workflow, can be a totally independent software, and I'm gonna talk in details about that in the next slide. If we wanna map this into the existing AVEVA software that you're aware of, on the MES level, the workflow, what AVEVA has done, it has created one unified solution called model-driven MES, okay, combining the traditional MES system of AVEVA with this workflow and OMI technology for all the forms in one unified solution, okay, which makes sure that we produce digitally and we follow process and business processes also digitally. So it's one unified system that can be sold together with AVEVA MES in one part number called model-driven MES. On the maintenance side, or predictive maintenance, let's say, you are aware, I'm not sure how much you are aware, but if you're not, it's our mistake. Maybe we did not make you aware yet. But in AVEVA, we have a very nice advanced module for predictive analysis. It's based on artificial intelligence, where it draws the patterns of failure of certain assets and equipment, and accordingly can predict, according to certain conditions, according to the artificial intelligence algorithm it carries, it can predict failures. Fair enough, we predicted failures, what's next? So this prediction of failure is nothing but a trigger for a workflow. And here, this whole concept is called prescriptive analysis. So we are not only just talking theories here, we're talking practice. So yes, there is a software that can predict failures and accordingly tell you what to do. Not only tell you that there is a failure that might happen, No, there's a failure, and here is the process that you need to follow. Another solution also that would fit with AVEVA Workflow is the water management system, where again, leak detection through hydraulic modeling. If there's a certain leak or prediction of a certain leak, according to the modeling, also it would tell you this is the process that you have to follow. Here we imagine in a water environment or a water management utility, there are many systems that are involved, including the maintenance, including dispatches, including many let's say many functions and departments in this water utility. So again, this would allow us to optimize our water distribution network or the operation of the water distribution network. On the pure maintenance management side, computerized maintenance management system or enterprise asset management, AVEVA Aventis, all right, that also has the workflow. And a typical system, like the example we have given earlier in the EAM, if you need to procure spare parts, okay, there are certain processes that you can follow, and again, workflow would allow you to follow this. And a much larger, let's say, or a broader view, the entire unified operation center of AVEVA, remember that it is one central control room that would involve all the stakeholders from operation, maintenance, engineering, optimization, manufacturing excellence. All of them are working in one system, unified operation center. The core engine of the process management across those platforms, or sorry, those systems, is nothing but AVEVA Workflow. So you might have dealt a lot with AVEVA Workflow earlier without maybe you knowing that this is exactly Skelta. Well, if you dealt with model-driven MES, if you dealt with water optimization software, or even Aventis, there is a piece of workflow of AVEVA Workflow inside every one of them. Now, the good news is, all the rest is good news, but even this is a better news, as the workflow itself can be an independent or universal solution with limitless, infinite solution. Anything that needs workflow can have AVEVA, a workflow module. So yes, we sell it as a complementary solution with other AVEVA solutions, but we also sell it and a lot as an independent third-party workflow management system. For instance, many companies use it for health and safety audits, okay, through operation, maintenance, shutdown, startup activities, and then to record to store all the records digitally. And many companies today in the Middle East, they buy AVEVA Workflow just for HR process management, to approve all the sick leaves, all the leaves, anything you might think of in an HR process. Okay, any HR system might have its own workflow, but when again it's part of another, it's one system part of other systems, they use workflow to integrate it with those third-party systems. So it does the workflow for HR process management as well as integrate it with other systems. Many customers, and I'm going to show you a little bit and some examples in the next slide, use it for CapEx. At the beginning of the year, or let's say at the end of a fiscal year, any CapEx approval is going through AVEVA Workflow, and we have solved it. Budgeting, the budgeting process management, procurement. They also do procurement and budgeting process. Sales management process, for example, discount approval. And here we're not talking about small, let's say, discount approval or small systems. We're talking about major deals for manufacturers, for instance, where there's a it's very cost-centric organizations where their margins are tight, and really approval can be a hectic process. I think also in our organization we share some kind of this pain, but it involves many stakeholders, and so AVEVA Workflow is used in some organization for approving certain discounts, etc. Defining a new products or a new SKUs in manufacturing. Okay, to add the new SKUs, it needs approval, it needs review. Also, they use workflow. And here, by the way, here they are using it standalone. They are just using workflow to approve the SKU addition or to adding a new product for manufacturing. Documents management system, because again, through the forms, all the forms that are digitally, all the records are digitally stored. So we can do that. And violation and fine management system, for example, RTA in Dubai, they use workflow to manage this system. So thanks to workflow, we are paying all the dirhams to RTA today. If we jump a little bit to the key customers in the Middle East, so Al Mara'i today, they have two systems, or let's say not two systems. They have much more than two systems, but they have two different applications for the workflow. They have it with the MES, as well as they have it for their IT applications. Like I was telling you, the CapEx, the procurement, they have more than 16 systems of workflow for their IT, independent of whatever you hear in Al Mara'i about Wonderware and AVEVA, all the system platforms, all the MESs that they have from us. On top of all of this, they have 16 different systems that are using the workflow as a core engine for AVEVA Workflow as a core engine for business process management. Ashghal in Qatar, they use it together with system platform as a decision support. So it is integrating system platform, the SCADA, with SCADA and of course the dashboards, with EAM, which is Maximo. Sorry, not the CMS. This is a typo mistake. The CRM system that they have, and many other IT systems. Again, as you said, they call it decision support system because it simply helps them to make the right decisions and to follow predefined and well-defined process according to certain triggers. RTA, as we said, Riyadh municipality, they use it for HR management. Bank Al Bilad in Saudi, they use for HR management. PepsiCo, they use a part of MES. AITS, SC, and Adwiya, I don't have all the details, but they are a major AVEVA Workflow customer. Okay, it is on top of what they have from AVEVA, other Wonderware system platform or HMI, etc. On the licensing side, very simple. It was a little bit complicated earlier, but now it has been much simplified. So you have three modules plus. So this document management system is part of the whole offering. So what you need is a model builder to build. I call it the Visio, the flow charts. Okay, then you have the forms. Again, the form is can be its own forms, or in case of, let's say, MES model driven, it's part of the OMI forms. Here, well, this is a user interface. They enter all the necessary data that they have, and definitely KPI and dashboard for reporting. So these are the three main components of the workflow. So development studio configurator, advanced development studio today. SIs who have advanced consignment license, they use Skelta. It's part of Skelta, can be used part of advanced development studio. Okay, to use the configurator. Then you have on the runtime side, you have the main server license to configure workflow configuration and connectors, all the connectors to different systems. Again, we are integrating multiple systems across the board. The form builder itself, it needs a license or a sub license, and then the client licenses, whoever is interacting with the system. And high availability license, again, because if you feel like this is a very critical, mission critical application that you are using workflow for, you cannot avoid, let's say 5 or 10 minutes downtime to restart or whatever to maintain. Okay, then you might need to add an availability license at the application level. In closing, so AVEVA Workflow is a comprehensive and easy to use software that bring all solutions to work together. This is very important. On top of course, as we said, one can work independently to digitize and ensure the collaboration at different levels and different applications. And it has limitless applications. So do not limit the AVEVA workflow to only the traditional AVEVA's applications, MES, APM, etc. It can really be for any IT system and work with any IT system that require workflow. Thank you very much for your time today, and I'm happy to take questions.
Thank you, Abdullah, for this interesting session. I hope everyone found it valuable. Yes. Yes, Abdullah, can you hear me now?
Yes.
Okay, so thank you again for this interesting session. I hope everyone found it valuable. Let's give just a few minutes for the audience to type their questions, as we have said before. In the meantime, just want to remind everyone that you will be receiving the session recording, because many questions we have received now regarding the recording. Yes, we will be receiving it soon, so you can share it with your team. And also you can find the links for our LinkedIn page, YouTube channels, and Facebook as well. All these links you can find it on the chat area. You can simply follow us and you will stay updated with our latest news. Regarding tomorrow, also wanted to remind you that at 12 o'clock Dubai timing, we will have the technical session for the workflow management. So just please make sure that your technical team will attend it. Abdullah, just let's give a few minutes for the audience if they have any questions. Sure. Yeah, we have received so far a few. I'll start with the first one. First question, does this means that we can sell workflow standalone without any AVEVA system? Abdullah, if you can just help, please.
Yes. It's possible. It's a standalone system, can be sold with its own license. As we said, it needs a server, a runtime component, forms, and to configure it, you need advanced development studio.
Okay, great. Second question, we have an existing old license from Skelta. I want to know how to upgrade, and will you offer support for that?
So it's if I understand the question well, there's a traditional Skelta. Okay, yes. There's something here. This is a good question. Why? Because it highlights an important point we might have missed to talk about. The traditional Skelta, when it was called Skelta, it was licensed differently. Okay, now it has been much simplified and fully integrated within the AVEVA system, AVEVA, let's say, price list. Okay, there is a roadmap. There is a mapping tables where we can say, okay, this was the old part number. This is what we need to do to upgrade. It follows the same standard AVEVA, let's say, upgrade philosophy and customer first, standard, premium, elite, etc.
Okay. Okay, great. Third and fourth question, actually, Abdullah, maybe it might be more addressed to me since I'm handling the channels. The first question is there a partner or system integrator program for Skelta or AVEVA Workflow? And the second one about the installed base in the market. So yes, if I can say for sure, the workflow management is part of, as Abdullah have mentioned before, it's part of the advanced applications. And for that, the system integrator can simply purchase the advanced consignment instead of the standard one. That will include additionally the MES, the manufacturing execution system, the batch management, and the workflow management as well. And for now, we are analyzing all the workflow installed base in the market, and soon we have to start working jointly with our system integrators. So back to the initial question, yes, definitely, the SI program covers the workflow management. Question number 5. It's almost the same. Is workflow a part of control of works or two different softwares?
No, two different softwares. Control of works is different.
Okay.
It's part of the APM portfolio, but it's not the same as workflow.
Okay, thank you. Next.
We can share some insight. This might be a good topic to talk about with the system integrators. Maybe we can schedule some presentation about it at a later stage.
Okay. Next question: what's the strength of AVEVA Workflow compared to any competitors?
All right. So there are two aspects to this, to answer to this question. Let's say, if we are using it with the AVEVA system, it's natively integrated with all AVEVA systems, as we have said. If we are using it as independent solution, today in ARP they have workflow, in CRM they also have workflow, and maintenance systems they have their own workflow. So if you can think of AVEVA Workflow as typically an independent workflow. So what it does workflow. It does not do let's say maintenance management. It does not do procurement management. It manages the process of approvals or a process of taking certain actions. This is one. Two, let's say the openness of the integration possibilities. Okay, usually you have IT systems, you have multiple databases, you might need to integrate with a SharePoint, so there is a SharePoint connector. The forms, the form builder is really easy of use. If you compare, many customers, they prefer to use the forms that they design on their own rather than using the predefined forms in an ERP system. Especially there are many ERP systems very well known for non-user friendliness, let's say. So there are multiple aspects. It really depends on how we are using it, to who, which application. So we're happy to explore this further and to tailor certain presentations. If there's any customer, we're happy to support that.
Okay, Abdullah. Next question: can we integrate existing BMS systems with AVEVA and integrate with workflow management for maintenance teams like their biometric attendance, etc.?
Theoretically speaking, yes, of course. A BMS from one side can have an OPC interface, let's say, to get data from it. Okay, on the biometric system side, we need to explore what's the database and how open it is, what the basis of this database. So it's a more of a technical evaluation of that. Theoretically, yes. Technically, we have to explore further.
Okay. Will the workflow work with PME PSO system? And same question for job cards, complete jobs, pending jobs, etc.
All right. So I'm not so familiar with PME and PSO. So if you don't mind, whoever asked the question, give us more details and we can come back to you. I'm personally not familiar familiar with this, or if you can write some follow-up question, and we can answer it.
Yeah,
I'm sorry for that.
No problem. I believe this is from Atif. So, Mr. Atif, if you can just elaborate more a little bit. Next question. Let me double check. So, no licensing based on CPU core for unlimited clients?
Yes, it is still like that. Yeah.
Okay. Someone is asking, is licensing depending on the number for workflow process?
Sorry, the question is what?
Is the licensing depend on number of workflow process?
No, it's not. It's depending on the clients. So there is a client part, but you can create as many workflow process you want.
Okay.
But the more workflow you have, I assume the more clients you would need.
Clear. Yeah, just this is a clarification from Atif. He was saying PMA and PSO, the power monitoring system, and power SCADA operations, which is part of the edge control software in the EcoStruxure power architecture.
Atif, if we can have this separate discussion, we really need to explore more. Okay, this is some detailed requirement that we have to explore together. If you don't mind, let's have a separate session on that.
Yeah, my bad. I believe it's from Mukund, not from Atif. Yeah, Mukund, please, if you can just send it to us, and we will come back to you for sure. Yeah. Yeah. One more question, please. If some customer has SAP or some other package which already gives workflow flexibility, then is it possible to sell AVEVA Workflow to such clients?
Yes, if you want to integrate SAP with some other systems, then it's possible. If you want to just sell a workflow to do the workflow of SAP, then I think it's meaningless. Not meaningless, but I mean, SAP has its own workflow, so it's not really. You want really. That's not the real value proposition that we're talking about. We're talking about integrating maybe SAP. If a customer is using SAP for let's say HR and SAP for finance, but they are using Maximo for CMMS and they are using AVEVA MES. The entire workflow, the entire integration of those systems, AVEVA Workflow is a perfect solution for that.
Okay. So far, Abdullah, I believe we have no more questions. Ladies and gentlemen, you know that if you have any question, you can still send it to us and we'll reply to you soon. For the time being, no more questions. Abdullah, I want to thank you again. Thank you so much for this session and for answering the question. I want to thank everyone, especially the audience as well, for their participation and for joining this session. As discussed, tomorrow we'll be having the technical session at 12 Dubai timing. So just please make sure that your technical team will be attending. Abdullah, again, thank you so much for your time.
Thank you, Nader. Thanks a lot. Thanks a lot, everyone.
Thank you. Bye-bye. Have a nice day. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.